Shalom, shalom, everybody. Welcome back to another Pulse of Israel update. Israel at War update here from a hotel room in Phoenix, Arizona. Just had a wonderful, wonderful Shabbat speaking to a beautiful community in Scottsdale, Arizona. The first time here, really beautiful, warm community. Wonderful feedback, updating them in terms of the war, connecting them to Israel, the Jewish people, what we're doing to reach out and help college students and high school students to be able to deal with the growing anti-Semitism by strengthening and empowering their Jewish identity and helping them. So it's been a wonderful Shabbat and speaking last night as well. And now off to a conference to meet and talk to lots of college kids on college campuses across the United States in order to, again, empower them, connect with them, to be able to be there to help them as they are going to be experiencing the growing anti-Semitism on their college campuses. So that's what I'm doing here in Phoenix right now. And then the next event, speaking to a community, is Tuesday night here in Phoenix, Arizona. If you know people who want to come or you want to be there, contact me and I will send you all the details. I just don't like putting the details up beforehand. Just don't want to cause trouble with potential troublemakers. All right. Israel at War update. So first of all, I'm actually not going to focus on Gaza for a second because it looks like Gaza has slowed down, unfortunately. All right, it looks like the Israeli army is not doing as much activity in Gaza. It's slowed down for whatever reason. I really pray it's not because of American pressure. As we've been hearing in the news, the Biden administration wants us to end this or wants us to change, to go into a different different stage, of a lower amount of action stage, which is ludicrous. What other country does America give conditions to their support for a war? Are they conditioning Ukraine anything in order for it to fight Russia? No, but all of a sudden for Israel to fight our genocidal enemy that literally has written in its charter to destroy the Jewish state of Israel, that they're giving us conditions. All right, of course, all the media reporting, are the conditions solid conditions? Are they just advising us or telling us what they'd like us to do? No clue it's making an impact on our slowing of the activity in Gaza, but it's a fact. Israel has slowed down the activity in Gaza, and I hope that stops and we continue to destroy Hamas entirely in Gaza. I'm going to get to the hostage situation in a second in Gaza, but I want to actually turn to Judea and Samaria and to Lebanon. Because while most of the focus in the media is on what the Israeli military, what the IDF is doing in Gaza, believe it or not, the IDF has been active in major Arab cities in Judea and Samaria, mostly Samaria. Qalqilia, Tulkarem, Shechem, Nablus. The IDF has been going in like day after day and taking down the hundreds of terrorists in each of those cities. Now understand, it's very important. Those cities are supposed to be under the control of the Palestinian Authority. Now you could see videos out there where they're showing hundreds, if not thousands, of armed terrorists in the streets of those cities. That doesn't look peaceful. It looks like whether the Palestinian Authority or Hamas or any other militant of any other name are active and waiting for the day to use those weapons against innocent Israelis. So at least the IDF is doing something to dent their capabilities in these cities, but it shows that the Palestinian Authority, well, if it's in control, it's not doing anything to stop the terrorists and arrest them. And if it isn't in control, well, it just shows, like I've spoken to you in past videos, the Palestinian Authority is a paper tiger. It's basically just a fig leaf organization that America gives funding to, that Israel feels obligated to give funding to in order that it doesn't fall, because then the responsibility would fall upon Israel to taking care of all the Arab civilians in Judea and Samaria. So it's propped up by international funding, but yet it really doesn't have control. And it's the terrorists who control the streets. So it's a good thing. It's a very good thing that the IDF is now active in those Arab cities in Judea and Samaria in order to hinder it from the danger, all of those Arab Muslim terrorists are planning on doing to Israelis, whether in Judea and Samaria or other places in Israel. All right, so that's number one. Then we go up to Lebanon. Same thing in Lebanon. Hezbollah is fighting a low-key war against Israel on the Lebanese border, and Israel is fighting a low-key war in return. Little by little, we are pushing southern Lebanese people north. They're leaving their villages, which is exactly what we want to happen. We have to clean southern Lebanon. And again, understand, Hamas uses southern Lebanese people, homes, villages, the exact same way that Hamas does, as human shields in order to hide their terrorists. All right? So we want them all to go north because we want the Israelis who live on the northern border to return to their homes. And the only time they're going to return to their homes is if they feel secure that there's no Hezbollah near the border. So little by little, Israel is going after Hezbollah on a low key, whether that's right or wrong, putting that aside at the moment. But Israel is going after Hezbollah on a low key. And the fact, how do we know that something's happening? Because the villagers in the southern Lebanon near the border with Israel are going up north. And again, the United Nations Resolution 1701 that was come upon after the Second Lebanon War in 2006 specifically says that there are not supposed to be any Hezbollah forces south of the Litani River, meaning all southern Lebanon is supposed to be free of Hamas, free of Hezbollah rockets, free of Hezbollah militants and armaments, etc., etc. Ever since that day, I said back then in the summer of 2006, Hezbollah will not abide by 1701. It's going to end up being horrible for Israel. They're going to build up their arsenal. They're going to build up their rockets. They're going to build up their militants. And here we are, 2023, 17 years later. Hezbollah is a total army on the southern Lebanon border with Israel, totally going against a United Nations resolution. Israel doesn't bring it up to the world to enforce. The world doesn't bring up to enforce. And now we have this horrible situation where Israelis on the northern border can't return home. The solution is that Israel has to get rid of Hezbollah on the southern border. The world, America, is going to try to have them finally abide by 1701, UN Resolution 1701. Is that going to work diplomatically? If you ask me, I doubt it. Hezbollah is going to basically just laugh in the face of America and the world, and then Israel will have to really use forces to ensure no Hezbollah and no rockets exist there on the Lebanon border that will threaten Israeli citizens, so that Israeli citizens will feel secure to return to their homes. All right? So, good pieces of news on what the IDF is doing in Samaria and in southern Lebanon. Now let's turn to the horrendous news item of the 3 Israeli hostages in Gaza who were killed, unfortunately, by IDF firepower. All right? Understand, everyone. The media is horrendous. The media is blaming these 3 soldiers for the death of these 3 Israeli captives. Hamas is to blame. Do not let anyone convince you otherwise. Hamas is responsible for the death, for the murder of those 3 hostages. Instead of Hamas being the ones to actually use the guns to shoot them and kill them, they, in a very evil way, ended up having Israeli soldiers being the ones to pull the trigger and kill them, but that's because Hamas kidnapped them, held them captive, held them go free one way, shape, or form. We're never going to get the details, but somehow they were in a war zone, right? They were there because of Hamas. Hamas is to blame that they were there. Our Israeli soldiers have split seconds to decide who to shoot. They have Hamas terrorists walking around in civilian clothes. They don't know who's a soldier, who's not a soldier. They have Hamas terrorists shooting at them from rooftops and from buildings that are still standing, that shouldn't be standing, but that's a different issue. They have Hamas terrorists coming out of the ground, shooting at them. So you're talking about Israeli soldiers walking around like this and having to decide in split seconds who to shoot. So it is very, very sad that 3 hostages were shot by IDF soldiers, but make no bones about it, folks. The victims here are not just the 3 hostages who were killed, but the IDF soldiers who shot at them and now have to live with guilt for the rest of their lives of what they did by accident. And unfortunately, the reaction of the far left run hostage family organization protest movement is playing right into the hands of Hamas, together with the Israeli establishment media, because they're making Israelis mad at the IDF and mad that, oh my God, the hostages are in trouble and we have to free them now. When you're in negotiations, if the other side, you hear saying, oh, we're willing to do anything and do it now, well, what happens to the price of the evil people? The price goes up. So the evil, okay, far left that has hijacked the hostage protest movement, one of the main organizations or some of the main organizations behind the hostage movement, they are working they might not admit it to you, but in real life, they are working hand in hand with Hamas. They're helping Hamas. They're not helping the captives. They're not helping Israel. They're paying more attention to help Hamas, thinking that they're helping the captives. Yet they're endangering the captives even more, because so long Hamas knows that Israel's willing to pay any price, it's going to up the price, it's going to make them feel they could do anything to the captives, and it's going to endanger the rest of Israeli society to whatever Hamas wants to do, because Hamas knows it has support within Israel of these far-left Israelis that hijacked the hostage family movement to have Israel pay a huge price, which will endanger all Israelis. So I like focusing on the hostage family organizations that are calling upon the Israeli government to focus on winning this war and destroying Hamas. Understanding that while Israel has to do that the best way to ensure we return our captives as quickly as possible is by Israel winning this war. And that also ensures that all Israelis are safer. Because allowing terrorists to be released at a high price, according to what the far left organizational movement of the hostage families is trying to do, that'll endanger all Israelis. And there was just a recent letter written by one of the IDF soldiers, one of our holy IDF soldiers that was killed in Gaza. His name was Ben Zusman. Hashem Yikom Damo, may God avenge his blood. And he specifically wrote before he went into Gaza, if you're reading my letter, that means something happened to me, and know, I'm paraphrasing, and know that I'm doing exactly what I want to do, standing up to protect my people and my nation. So if I die, know that I died properly, know that I died for the right reasons. Don't be sad for me. When you're sitting and mourning me, tell jokes, tell stories, eat meat, because you know I did the right thing and I lived a good life. And then he adds a final statement. Don't you dare release any terrorists to free me if I'm taken captive, or to free my body if my body's taken captive. I do not want anything to be given. Let me stay there. That is part of his will. And that's the spirit of the Jewish people. In order to ensure all the Jewish people are safe, including trying to keep the captives as safe as possible, Israel has to continue trying to get rid and destroy Hamas and make them beg for a ceasefire, make them beg for a deal that will release the captives, and not by the weak protest movement that plays hand in hand with the evil Hamas, that makes them raise the price, that endangers the lives of the captives and endangers all Israeli lives. And with that, it's so sad, one, that these soldiers on their own have to live with the guilt of what they did by accident, and two, the horrendous campaign by the establishment media that's making them feel guilty, as opposed to blaming Hamas for being responsible. Do we know if they escaped, or do we know if Hamas let them run free? We don't know, but it doesn't make a difference, because it's Hamas's responsibility for them being held captive to begin with, and them being there in a war zone to begin with. And I want to give my IDF soldiers, who are holy, holy soldiers, working so hard, risking their lives in an impossible situation for soldiers. Impossible. They're looking up above if they're going to be shot at from homes. They have to go into homes. There could be tunnels anywhere looking down. Hamas could be coming out of anywhere. They could be dressed as civilians. It's an impossible situation to try to understand who to shoot, when to shoot, how to shoot, and to shoot as quickly as possible to defend yourself as a soldier and defend your fellow soldiers. So I'm giving 100% benefit of the doubt to my holy IDF soldiers, and I believe it's an evil campaign by the establishment media and those who are putting all the blame on the soldiers, making them feel guilty. and not pointing the blame 110% on the evil Hamas that is manipulating Israeli public opinion, that is manipulating our emotions, because they're watching the news, they see the protest movement, they know exactly what they're doing, they're very smart, and it's sad because many Israelis and many Jews are falling into their propaganda as opposed to standing by our army, standing by our soldiers like they should, and giving them the benefit of the doubt, and feeling bad and sad that the hostages were killed in such a situation, and that Hamas has manipulated the situation to such an extent that, one, they were shot, and two, that there are those in Israeli society who are not blaming Hamas and instead blaming the IDF and our IDF soldiers, which is going to be leading to even harshening the rules of engagement, making soldiers question themselves even more when shooting, which means endangering their lives. So pray for all our holy soldiers to be doing everything they can and be thinking straight, or not thinking at all, acting reactively as much as possible to shoot and defend their lives in this impossible evil hellhole of Gaza that Hamas has created that we have to deal with. Pray. All right, signing off to the conference to talk to as many college students as I can to help deal with the growing anti-Semitism that they're dealing with on college campuses here in the United States of America. Shalom, everyone. Thanks for watching and listening to another Pulse of Israel episode. If you are not yet a subscriber, go to pulseofisrael.com and click to subscribe. And if you want to help us promote these videos to be seen by many more people, just click on the donate button on pulseofisrael.com so that you can help us with funding necessary to help more people see these videos and all of our video clips. Shalom, everyone. Thanks for watching.
Pulse of Israel, frontline videos from the Holy Land. Support our work by donating today.